Welcome to Kyrgyzstan, specifically Bishkek, the capital city of this blessed nation. The city is located in the northern part of Kyrgyzstan, the capital, attracting many people from all parts of the country to come and work here in order to make a better living. There are also much more options when it comes to even things such as entertainment, real estate, and so on, being the capital. So any Kyrgyz person, in his or her right mind, would probably decide to move out to the city, should he or she decide to stay within the country's limits. However, there are circumstances, such as people being attached to their families in their home cities, that might motivate people not to move to the city. In any way, one can still move to Bishkek for a more prosperous life, and then visit family in the home city every now and then. Bishkek is not by any means one of the bigger capitals in Central Asia, overshadowed by perhaps the former capital and cultural capital of Kazakhstan, otherwise known as Almaty, in addition to Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan, which remains the fourth largest capital in terms of population when it comes to the former Soviet Union, after the cities of Moscow and St. Petersburg in Russia and Kiev in Ukraine. When it comes to the demographics of Bishkek, it seems to be predominantly Kyrgyz. However, there is a notable Russian, potentially Ukrainian group scouring the cities. As common with Central Asia, it does not seem that these groups find themselves in specific neighborhoods in the city. Actually, they are quite intermixed. When it comes to linguistic preferences of people living in this city, there seems to be an equal mixture of both Kyrgyz and Russian, with Kyrgyz being one of the Turkic languages that seem to dominate Central Asia, and even Asian groups in mainland Russia, with Kyrgyz being closely connected to languages such as Kazakh and Uzbek. Some might argue that those are actually mutually intelligible, closer to dialects rather than separate languages. When it comes to the usage of Russian, clearly it has remained because of the Soviet influence. The people that will be heard speaking Russian in the city streets are primarily people with Soviet origins, meaning people who have lived throughout the Soviet times, and they hold on to the Soviet Union's main language of Russian. Otherwise, they might be the younger generation that has either picked up the language from the ancestors or prefer to speak the Russian language as it's somewhat trendy. In addition, the Kyrgyz Cyrillic alphabet makes it rather easy for people to learn Russian compared to people who have grown up with the Latin alphabet, for example. Now, Kazakhstan, as of recently, has been planning to adopt the Latin alphabet when it comes to the Kazakh language, in order to make the language a little bit more universal, quite reminiscent of the efforts of countries such as Serbia to incorporate a lot of Latin and slowly dispose of the Cyrillic alphabet, except when it comes to specific situations in which it would be nice to use a Cyrillic alphabet. However, it is unclear if Kyrgyzstan is going to adopt such a mentality. When it comes to schooling, Kyrgyzstan might be experiencing a similar approach that Kazakhstan does. Kazakhstan, like Kyrgyzstan, also has its Russian, potentially Ukrainian groups, and so on. And so, in Kazakhstan, The choice of schooling is divided into mainly two divisions. One division is primarily Kazakh with a Russian class. The other division being primarily Russian with a Kazakh class. In any case, students are going to be proficient in both Kazakh and Russian. However, of course, one is going to be stronger than the other. When it comes to the religion in Kyrgyzstan, if there were to be a tally, counting the religious statistics of the Kyrgyz people, the most followed religion, if any, will most likely be Islam. Simply walking around the city, one will notice much more and many more hijabs when compared to Kazakhstan, for example. With the city of Almaty, if one were to walk around in the city for a whole day, finding one hijab is a bit of a rarity. Maybe one hijab is common, but maybe finding 5 hijabs in one day is almost an achievement. However, in the city of Bishkek, walking around the city, seeing, for example, 10 hijabs a day is not uncommon. However, just like many other Muslim countries that are not Arab, or in the part of Asia such as Indonesia, it is not really a felt vibe when walking around the city to realize that a lot of the people are actually practicing Muslims. There is a liberal sense that permeates the city. In addition, hearing the call of prayer is rather rare. Even staying in the same location for a very long time, it is uncommon to hear the call of prayer. It seems to be mainly heard during the Friday prayer. During the Friday prayer, especially when there is a sermon, and the religious scholar preaches to the people. That being said, public display of affection is not a common sight in the Kyrgyz capital. One can stay an entire month without seeing the most simplest signs of public display of affection between people, besides the common hug, either from man to women, or women to women. The city suffers from an immense pollution problem, with the population being roughly 1 million. Some argue that the city was designed to hold as few as 250,000. However, over time one can say that the city has been overpopulated. While that does not manifest itself as traffic, scarce housing, unemployment, and so on, the main victim seems to be the pollution, with quite an unpleasant scent to be smelled throughout the city. And it is very possible for someone to clean his or her nose with a napkin only to find black stains because of the potential smog that has been breathed in. It is unclear if the Kyrgyz capital has many plans to fix this problem. Otherwise, one can see this radiating smoke from a very, very far distance. Those who enjoy sleeping in the evening with the window open in order to let in some sort of a nice breeze are probably not going to be able to enjoy such a simple pleasure in the Kyrgyz capital, which is, by the way, quite a cold capital in the winter, with temperatures regularly plummeting to -15 Celsius. However, with the sun out as follows, it is possible to get away with one nice sturdy jacket and nothing more. No gloves, no beanie, although those items are preferably items that one should have just in case the temperature gets extremely cold. With no sun, maybe it becomes a little bit windy. Kyrgyzstan is definitely the place to be if one would like to explore the crevices of Central Asia. and especially if someone would like to see some interesting hats that the elderly gentlemen seem to like to sport. As they say, or as they might say, any person who comes to Kyrgyzstan will certainly leave with a little piece of Kyrgyzstan with their heart.